All right, welcome to the Table Talk podcast. I'm Austin,
And I'm Miles.
and today we're talking about villainous routes. So Wizard of the Coast do these play test type things where they release like different stories, different characters, so that you can play test them at home and then you get feedback on them. So most recently they came out with villainous routes.
Like, well, wait, can we talk about that? Because it's called Arcanum Unbounded, right? Or what?
Yeah.
Arcanum Unbounded D&D 5e. I'm gonna throw it up. Or sorry, not. Wait, what is it called again? Unearthed Arcana. Sorry,
Unearthed Arcana. Yeah.
Unearthed Arcana. Arcanum Unbounded. I think it's like a Sanderson thing. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up on the screen so everybody at home can kind of see what we're talking about, because this was something that I didn't know about, and it's from D&D itself, source material, and you can see they have like all of these. I'm showing all the viewers right now all these different things. I see the Artificer in there as a thing. I thought was like, oh, okay, so this is yeah, like I don't know how far this goes back because they don't have everything else dated, but this current.
Well, they actually just released another one, not the one we're talking about. Like, there should be another one that I think came out a couple of days ago.
It's alright. I'm just gonna hold up the Spirit of Fire patch just so I recognize myself when I'm editing this to like put a link or whatever reference of that nature. Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. But so the characters and the paths that they've presented lend themselves to villains. So the first thing that I want to talk about is there space in D&D to have heroes and villains like on the same playing team, or is it like, do these lend themselves more to an NPC or like a player coming in for a couple sessions? And I want to know your thoughts on it before I jumped into it.
Oh, geez. Okay, well, then I'll go right on the thing that I alluded to before we got on the call, which is me and one of my players were talking about specifically the relationship between, like, sort of the reason why no one runs a campaign above level 15. And even 15 is probably high level. I think the focus of this game is really to, like, end at, like, a level 12 character. But I hate that. I think that's bad design. But I think I think less that it's bad design. I think it is bad design a little bit. But I think it's more like bad signposting. Like, there should probably be something in the player's handbook that mentions, like, hey, like, this is a game that gets a little ridiculous past this point. So unless you're playing, like, a themed campaign, like, we don't have a lot of support for you past level 15 characters. Or it's like, we offer this so that the DM can present a level 15 character. Like, in my mind, characters above level 15 are already villains that the player is going to have to face in a campaign. I'm not even kidding with you. It's like, that is what my assumption of, it's not said in the rules, but it's like, I think that's why it's there in the player's handbook, because the DM is supposed to have all 3 supplementary materials, right?
Yeah.
Dungeon Master's Guide, Player's Handbook, and yes. And so one of the things I realized, because I recently picked up a physical edition of Daggerheart, was that it is a Player's Handbook and a DM guidance book in one, right?
Oh,
I think Monster Manual can be a separate thing, but it's, I think the sacrifice, and I might be getting a little off topic here. I think the sacrifice of the that Wizards of the Coast is making is that every player is going to need a player's handbook. So let's keep this thing light and keep things that they don't need outside of it. But for me personally, I would rather have everything in context and together so I understand it, especially because I think those last 5 player levels are really for the DM and not the player. So there's 2 ways they could go about this. They could lower the level cap for the player in the player handbook, and then they could have supplementary rules for the DM and the DM's guide that has, like, that breaks down, like, here's players of higher level and spells that they have access to, because, like, the level 8 and 9 spell slots are like ludicrous. right?
Broken. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a whole argument about like, can marshals keep up, or like are they even valid at the higher levels? Yada yada yada. This isn't the point. The point is that I think those last 5 levels are already suited for villainous characters. So this is really interesting to see design wise from Wizards of the Coast, because I feel like it furthers my belief that there is this essence of they understand that DMs are going to make characters who are villainous, and I think there is also the idea of the villainous campaign, where instead of the heroes, you play the bad guys, which is cool. And I guess just to close this out before you give your piece, because it's a thought that I had. I think this also ties back to Baldur's Gate 3. We can talk about this further, but I think they really Dungeons and Dragons always takes place in like the Sword Coast and like kind of the what is the planet setting called? Faerun. It already takes place in Faerun, right? Yeah. And so this is like really interesting, particularly the Infernal Night, because it makes direct references to the plane of Avernus, and like the planar system is so in the background, like you really have to beat into Faerun to like get a grasp of that at table. My sense is like most people outside of the modules just like make their own universes because they don't want to have to know all that. And there's something really interesting about the onboarding of Baldur's Gate 3, where now I read D&D supplements, Wizards of the Coast like 5e D&D supplements, and I know exactly what they're talking about when they say Avernus, right? It's like I have a clear picture in my mind. So I think that's quite interesting. I have some different thoughts about the classes themselves specifically, but I think better if you're going to go through them one by one, that I make my comments then.
I mean, we can just kind of reference them, and then just to continue what we're talking about. I do get concerned when there's a player playing a villain, probably because like I've had that happen in the past, where we had a campaign that did go to level 20, that the final villain ended up being one of the players, which I've had happen in campaigns before, and like it worked well in those campaigns, but I think I didn't do it correctly, and there were also like inner player fighting going on like outside of the game, so like I didn't know what that was happening, but like to have them fighting outside the game and then have them then fight in the game did cause issues. So like I do get concerned whenever there's a player who's like not in line with what the party wants, because like you can always have players that are like super lawful and players that are like more towards the chaotic side. But as long as they have like the same goal in mind, it's fine. But if you have a player who's like actively a villain, and it's not just like a character trait, it's like who they are is gonna cause hell for like the other players.
The collective groan when the lawful good paladin enters the party.
Yeah. Or they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't go in there, it's against the rules. You're like, my guy's bleeding out. It's like, sorry, I can't, and you're like, right, which
there's a solution to this too, but go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no, I mean that was my thing. Is it's just like there are ways to make it work. I just don't think I've found a way that consistently does work. If that makes sense.
Let me offer to you the Baldur's Gate 3 solution. Okay, Baldur's Gate 3 is a pretty good DM. Yeah, and I'm going to continue to use it because what phenomenal onboarding. Play Baldur's Gate 3. When you make a thing that would break your oath as a paladin in Baldur's Gate 3, so I'm using the paladin as an example because I think they are the best use case for alignment charts, because their oaths are based on them and their powers come from their oaths. So your character will legitimately change as a paladin if you don't do what they're supposed to be about. So it behooves you to sort of roleplay those characters in a way such that they are going to do those things. And so that's the penultimate, right? Because above like, oh, my character would do this, and that contradicts with this other player in the party whose their character would do something else, and it's kind of like we're butting heads. It's like the paladin is like, I lose my identity if I if I make another
Lose it all.
right. And so the way they do this in Baldur's Gate is when you would break your oath, an oath breaker, like deity, like god being, kind of shows up. It's an oath breaker paladin, but he's like, his body's made of fire. He's in a suit of armor, and
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of weird. And he talks to you, and he's like, "Look, I broke my oath." And he's like, "If you accept the fact that you've broken your oath, you can become an oathbreaker, or I will give you one last chance to like do a thing." And I think it's like a currency or something really simple. I broke my oath, and I committed to it, so I can't remember what the other option was because I looked it up online a little bit. And so you can either get your oath back, right? So there's like a correction system, which is like interesting because, you know, if you at the table, you could maybe make that a quest. That's something interesting. It's like a paladin on a redemption arc. Maybe some of their powers are shorted. Like that's really great. Like building role play into combat mechanics and like core mechanics of the game, which I advocate for. I actually have a story from the table that was really interesting to go along those lines. But I won't go over it right now. But that Oathbreaker Paladin, it's like, oh, this is cool because like I break my oath and now I can like change my alignment. Essentially, I can just become an Oathbreaker and kind of become like evil in this interesting way, or more neutral, whichever one you were leaning towards. Because you could be an evil paladin too. And so I thought that was one interesting way to solve that problem.
So, like, so your interesting way of solving it is by having them either like change into something new, or like giving them a notice and be like, hey, this is different than what your character is. You can switch back, or you can change.
I think
like, to narrow it down.
Yeah, and I think to really describe it fully in the way that I understand it is like, if players are butting heads at the table because like they have formed an adversarial connection, I think you need to present choices to those players to circumnavigate those adversarial connections, right? And like this requires the players to play along, right? Like in a situation like you described, where the players are like mad at each other in real life, and then they're coming to the table and they're pitted against each other. It's like, well, that exists outside the confines of the table. There's not really much you can do about that, particularly because like you set it up for this to be in the game, not knowing about the other thing. So it's like now this is like an airing of grievances. You know, it's like we're doing like a therapy session, obfuscating their actual beef with these like characters, and it's like, ooh, we don't want that to eke into the game. Like that's not. That's not why we came together at the table. So it's like, I think in that situation, you either need to take a pause or you need to contrive something to where like it would line up about like one thing that both these characters can agree upon, right? Which should always exist in the game in my my thought. But this is like going along the lines of what I said in the previous episode, which was like knowing your characters, right? And so, or knowing your players' characters. And so like if you know them well enough, you should be able to devise a way. Maybe you know them well enough that there is no connection, but then again, I would say, why are we playing D&D together? Like every character should have one thing that they align on to reach the goal.
There has to be something.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess in that session, and this is like about a thing about player freedom, did you provide that for them? Did they have a common goal, or was it like a story beat thing where at this point they had? I guess how does that come about that they become adversarial at the table? Was it more like the feelings outside the table were coming through, or was it like
So like
okay.
to keep it brief, one of the characters, he was actually a paladin, and then broke his oath, and then he wanted to do. I know, right? and then he wanted to do this like homebrew oath paladin that was like basically. I mean, it was kind of like the Hell Knight that we'll talk about later, but like with
it sounds like you wanted to do Oathbreaker type thing, but yeah,
right. And so he went down this path, but I kind of gave him like a side story in the beginning, like because he died and then he like came back up from hell. Like he got revived because like we were on hiatus, so we did a bunch of like role play stories where it was like a text based system, right? and then like one of the people revived him, and then he, when he got out of hell, ended up in this snowy wasteland, and he kind of had to like rebuild himself and his like little army,
Mhm.
and then he went back with the group, but like throughout this he was like, hey, like I'm like my character is evil now, like he's doing not good things. I'm like, okay, like do you want to continue down this path? And he was like, yeah, like I want to be the villain basically. And like the entire group, and it's also difficult when you're friends with the people IRL, you know, and then they start making like morally questionable mistakes in the game. He's like, oh yeah, let's just kill some children, and they're like, well, that's weird, but you're my friend, so I'm not gonna like ask you about it or question it. And then it like progressed into breast, like where they beat, I mean, again, they were like level 20, and they beat a god, and then like as they were leaving, like they were like, haha, actually you just beat this god, but it had an item that the villain wanted, and now he's all powerful, but you got to go and face him, right? So just like they thought they were done, and it turns out the guy in their party was actually using
Right, and it's hard to be like, we knew you were evil all along, like we saw you were evil, and like because we've made this social contract to play this game together, like you know, we couldn't turn on you because that would have been no fun for you. So here's this reveal that you're the villain, and it's sort of like, well, yeah,
yeah, and like and we, like, I had been in the game previously with our friend Zach, where one of our players was the villain also, right? And
oh, I know about this
I was
one.
kind of mad.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I wasn't mad about it, but I was like, because a lot of the hints that were like dropped along the way, I wasn't there for it, because I would like miss the first hour of the session because I'd work, so I would come in late and like be there last hour, and every time I missed the like hints, and I'm like, I would have, like, not saying I would have like known, but I'm like, I wish I would have like gotten those hints, but like even then,
Yeah, you don't know. You're like, oh, I was missing that information. Oh, sorry.
Exactly, right. And so he got revealed as a villain, and all of us are like, well, dang, like, do we fight our best friend? Like, how do we? Because like, I mean, we talked about D&D like every day with each other, and then I'm like, okay, well, I can't talk to you about this because you're the villain. Like, it just, and like the story ended up great, and like it was fun, but there were clearly like rifts in the dynamic of the group for a little bit, like while this was going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that doesn't feel good. Yeah, that doesn't feel good to be like having a rift in the group. I don't think it's ever worth, even if you've managed to land somehow, I don't think it's ever worth it to split the party in that way. I guess personally, I think I get a big warm and fuzzy when like I walk away and all my players are like, haha, we had a good time together, and like we all agree on these things. Well,
because there's this unique like psychological thing of like when you talk about D&D, you don't go, my player did this, my character did this, he did this. You're like, no, like I did this, like I jumped off of a tower and like fought a dragon or something, right? And so when you start associating your character like as yourself, and you get betrayed by someone else who's playing like as themselves, as it were, then that's when it like blurs the line, and like you start to like have feelings of betrayal from that person, even though like we can separate it and know that this is a game and we're like enjoying it, we're having fun with it, and there's still that human aspect that like doesn't like to be stabbed in the back. You know what I mean? So like villains are just a real tough spot to like land as a player doing it, to the point that like I just don't trust it. You know, I don't think I would do that again.
Yeah, well, certainly not in that way, right? But there's an interesting thing that you said where, what was it about villains? Oh shoot. Because you're being consistent was my point. Like the most recent thing you said aligned to something you said earlier in the podcast. Now I'm forgetting it, but that that experience of betrayal, that personal feeling. Oh, that's what it was. It was your friend is killing children, and your other friends are watching this guy kill children and being like, well, that's him. You know, everyone else watching is not thinking that's the character. They're thinking that's him, and so they're like, why does he want to kill children? Like, that's messed up. Like, yeah. Even though maybe he is just playing his role, right? But,
I mean, and he played the role to perfection. Like, the villain was a very good villain, and like he built himself up as the bad person. Like, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do, full send. It just felt weird that it was him doing it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's like where you introduce the players doing it. It's so funny because the DM can get away with it. It's a DM story. That guy is playing like every character, but the other player at the table better be a player and like be on our team through everything. You know, that's kind of the unofficial social contract of playing a cooperative storytelling
the
game.
unofficial social. I mean, honestly, yeah, like 100%.
So there's intrigue. There's intrigue with this way that you reveal the villains, which is like, that's potent. It's like, oh, we should try this type thing. But I think both times you tried it, it's like one of them worked, but it was still turbulent. The second one didn't work, and it was turbulent, right? So it's like,
Yeah, well, and now, like when I play D&D with people who I consider friends, I'm like, is this guy gonna betray me? Like, is this guy gonna be the villain now? Right.
yeah,
So now there's like that thought in the back of my head that I'm like, okay, like I need to have a failsafe. I need to
Right.
have something to kill this guy. So like there was one campaign I was in, and like one of the characters, he was an angel, right? And I specifically bought a weapon to kill an angel,
angels.
like
That's
just in case, right? And I was like, afterwards, I was like, maybe this is a me problem because now I'm like not trusting of others. But like,
Right.
like I told him like, oh, you know, like what if they come after you, or what if there's another angel? Like I'm just prepared, and it was really me just getting ready to kill him. Like, yeah. So it definitely like warped my perception of like being trusting of others at the table.
Well, this is
Yeah.
this is the ongoing battle to even get the players to trust the DM, because the players will start to not sort of telegraph what they're doing because they think the DM's going to like stop them from doing it because it's like, oh, it doesn't fit the confines of what you're whatever you're doing. And so there's like this like you said, there's that trust, and it needs to be there for both parties. And so it's like you can take a risk and do a big swing and like do something interesting, but like, is it worth the cost of trust?
Yeah.
Right.
That's an interesting way to put it. Is it worth the cost of trust? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes no. I mean, most of the time, like if it hits, it's great. But if it doesn't, then you feel like garbage and you feel bad because like you're like, dang, like everyone's not satisfied with what's happened.
But humans are risk creatures. It's like you should take the risk. Like if everybody did the same thing every single time, it would,
It'd be boring, yeah.
Right. So there's got to be variety there. So I'm not advocating for one over the other. I think it is. I'm just trying to say that like the trust is the thing that you're risking, and so it's like, do you want to deal with players later on who will do very odd things and not tell you everything? Because it makes it harder for you to tell the story when the players aren't telling you everything they want to achieve.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things about like player trust in the DM is like I've had a few times where the player is like, hey, I don't want to know my story. Like I don't want to know anything about the past. I just want to know like I woke up and here I am. And I'm like, oh, okay, like are you sure? And they're like, oh yeah, like do whatever. So like in the past I've done like, they used to be best friends with someone else in the party who also lost their memory, or like they're secretly in league with the villains and they don't know it. Like there's a lot of ways to build like your character and then have that twist that your players trust you and you're trusted them to like continue this without knowing it. That I think that like that's a good way to build trust, is having them not know their story. That one's fun.
I like that. I like that because yeah, you're kind of yeah. It reminds me like I use this convention a lot where it's like players don't know 100% of their story. So in a moment of it could be a variety of different things, but in a critical moment I will ask a player like, who was the person who impacted your character the most in their childhood? And they'd be like, oh, that was their mother. And then I'll be like, and what was it about their mother that like made them feel a certain way? And it's like one of the best examples I can think of is I used I think they're called aboleths. They're like these big floating creatures. I think anytime there's like a psychic damage spell, you got to describe that shit like a little bit. And so it's like it's really cool when you can be like this attack is about to lay these guys low, and then you just like get them to tell you some stuff, and you describe an emotional damage scene based off of what they've told you about their character.
Like, emotional damage. Damn.
Yeah, it's like yeah, your mother appears before you and she says it's not your fault, and then you take 40 points of psychic damage, right? Like it's like whoa.
I'm about to steal that. That's just really good. But like, so another way to kind of bring it back to what we talked about earlier about like not trusting people in your party is like use their memories. Like if there's a character who they don't like a lot, but they like charge in to save their friend or something, like they do something in that moment that is heroic, be like, hey, buddy, this reminds you of what your mom used to say, like help others wherever you can. And they're like, shit, like, okay, maybe I do like them after all. You know, there are ways to kind of nudge them in the direction of like support.
You could use their characters to endear them to the, like, I like that specifically because it's like, I'm imagining this happening to your frozen Hell Knight character, and it's like your character, regardless of you the player, your character still loves that guy, right? And it's like as soon as I'm the player and I'm told my character still loves that guy, I'm like, oh, then I have to still love him. And it's like your you know, it's like your this sounds terrible. It's like your MAGA uncle that you have to like go and sit down with Thanksgiving with, and you're just like, oh, like I hate everything you stand for, but like we are blood related, so I cannot like I have to love you, right? It's like love doesn't mean like, you know, it's like, oh, like my MAGA uncle, like I hate that guy, but it's like I show up and I'm like, yeah, but I still love him, you know, I have these childhood memories with him, like before the Trump years. Like, yes. Anyway, sorry.
Before, you know, way back in the day.
Yeah, so that's really good. I like that. I'm gonna take that.
So to kind of add on to what we were talking about, like other than like introducing like the Oathbreaker, like you were talking about, do you think there's a good way to kind of, because we're big like yes and as DMs,
right?
You know, we want to give them agencies. We want them to feel like that they're not just following a set path. Do you think there's a good way to like rein in characters that are kind of leaning towards being villains, or do you always yes and let them kind of go down that path, even if it'll cause issues with your story down the line?
I think it has to be an above table discussion first and foremost. I think it has to be like the player coming to you being like, I think I want to go evil, and then you got to be like, you know, the DM provides the rails regardless. So it's like when the player doesn't know a situation is going to lead to their death, you tell them beforehand, are you sure you want to do that? You really are like, are you sure you want to do that? So you need to do the same thing with like, they're going to be evil. You're like, oh, are you sure you want to do that? Have you considered the other players at the table? What is your like, what's your end game with this? What do you think that is adding to the story, right? Like, so kind of first step is talking them off the ledge. If they're really convinced that it's like, you know, I don't know. If they're really convinced, it's going to be hard to rein them in. If you say no, they're going to be bitter about it, right? So, yeah, I don't know. It really depends. There's a million use cases. I would say outside of the paladin example, maybe it's like you're a cleric and it's like, okay, well, like, you know, you're starting to turn evil. It's like, okay, I'm gonna have a divine intervention moment where literally your god appears before you and says, "Is you think about being evil there, right?" And then it's like hard for you to become an evil character because it's like then your character kind of has to be a little bit of a rat bastard who's like, oh, like, because I think the typical thing is like, my god doesn't care about me, so I become evil. If you still decided to become evil when your god came down and was like, hey, don't do that, like, then you just kind of suck. Yeah, like that's.
Honestly. Then that's on you.
Right. So that's one way you could do it. Any other ways I can think of reining it in is like use their NPCs against them. Hopefully they are not Edgelord McThousand with the whatever, and like they're not a murder hobo, and they like actually have formed connections with NPCs or the other players at the table. So it's sort of like leverage those connections to make them not turn evil. I think.
Yeah.
We're rational creatures, right? So I think rationally, we like something we want. Like if we don't get it, we might feel bad about it. But if everybody else around us is telling you like, no, that's very bad, then you're gonna be more willing to be like, okay, yeah, I was having a moment, and actually like. Because Ragnar the Smith, who always gives me the magical items I want, said, like, I shouldn't be evil. I'm not going to be evil. Or because of Betsy, my 2 feet tall halfling rogue companion, like, thinks that's crazy, I'm not going to do that. Like, we're communal creatures, right? So it's like,
yeah,
I think outside of those cases, like, offer, like, hey, maybe we'll do, like, a villain campaign later. Or like build a setting around that.
It's and I'm not comparing myself to him, but like the quote that like God did it. He doesn't give you what you want; he gives you what you need. I apply it to this as well. It's like you might want to be a murder hobo character, but like is that really what we need? Is that really what you need at the table to like keep your group and keep your friends like all on the same page? Probably not. So yeah.
Would you say that's kind of your typical way that, or have you? I guess what has been your response to reining these things in, and maybe if you didn't do it well, like what is your ideal response?
So, so part A is I typically give my players so much freedom that I allow them to make those mistakes and think that they're on the right path, and then turns out they're on the wrong path. So like I try to introduce like a lot of NPCs early on that are like fun or that are like related to the party, and then if they start going down a bad path, I'm like, they meet that character later and they're like sad, and they're not mad, they're disappointed, and that generally will like help them as an extension of me to be like, hey, like stop it. But like I also think that because I give them so much freedom and I don't really set too many rails, like I mean obviously there's a story, but if they chose to go completely left, then I'm not going to stop them.
Right.
So like so I allow them to do that, and then I kind of have to narratively make a reason why it's kind of a bad choice. Whether that's, hey, we're supposed to save them from the dragon and we didn't, and now the dragon's in charge over here and we kind of like royally messed up. And hopefully the guilt is going to kind of course correct and make them go and do something good.
Okay, so you start, you like they get out into the white space where nothing exists, and you start making them regret that decision by improving a bunch of stuff that didn't exist that's bad.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I like I said, I am like 100% a yes and. They're like, I want to, like we had one story, and it was based off of The Legend of Dragoon. If you ever played that game.
Yep, I'm familiar.
My favorite game, right? And so, in the game, you find out that the princess is an imposter. So you have to go to this like other land, find the princess who's been captured, and then bring her back because she's about to get like given this mystical item that has stuff that goes on later on, right? So like in the game, you can't like interact with not things in story. Like it's a Final Fantasy-esque game, so like you can only like go to certain things. In D&D, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
So like again, in the game, the real princess is super sweet, super nice. the imposter like is very crude and very rude to people, right? And everyone's like, well, that's so weird. They're like, oh, she fell off her horse and hit her head. When it turns out like she fell off the horse and she got captured and replaced in that moment. So in my game, my one character who kind of turned out to be villainous in his own way, which I mean is funny to bring it up now, and the princess like walked by him and like hit him in the shoulder and was like, I'm walking here, and he stabbed and killed the princess.
Oh.
Yeah. So they got in a big fight with the guards. They then ran away and decided to do something else entirely. So my entire like plan for the next like 2 months up in smoke in that one moment because he felt insulted and he's like, well, my character would do that. I'm like, no, you didn't have to. And it was like the first session too. Like I'm like, brother, right? So I had to like rewrite everything. They ended up like going back to like finding the real princess and proving that like they're innocent. So like I still tied it back in. But like in that first moment I'm like, God dang, dude, like come on, like why'd you have to kill the princess? And like it was funny because all the other characters kind of could feel that it was like important to not kill the princess and like gave him crap for the rest of the like I think because it was at the college, so it was like every Friday we would meet. So like for 3 months they were just like, hey, make sure you don't kill the princess this time. So like it ended up being funny, but like in that moment I was like, this mother trucker ruined the entire story, messed everything up for me. Come on, man.
I'd like to share some similar adages because I am not like it. The simulation is infinite white space. I am like, there are rails and I am obfuscating them. And if you go too far, depending on my mood, I will either say, please, please, please don't make me generate new content, because if you go that way, I'm going to have to generate new content. Or I will say, like, no, you can't go that way. Which generally it's like, what I try to do is they go down, like really, it's a path that has forks. All the forks come back to whatever I prepared, right? like they it's like one of those illusions where, you'd walk in a direction and back out the start of the path. And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Right. But the players don't realize that because they're just like in it. They're experiencing the game itself. And so, the way I would like to phrase this for today's episode is that it is, kind of the limit of immersion is what I want to call it, right? You have limitless immersion in all of your games because you will go through your own pains to follow whatever the players are doing, right? I have semi-limited immersion. It depends on the campaign that I'm running. I would say that Fatal Scales, the one that I play online with a group of people, that one is very limited immersion, but particularly because a couple of the role players prefer to do third person, there's a lot of above table talk already. So it sort of sets a precedent where it's like, I don't mind exposing the rails to them if it means that the session is going to go a little bit smoother, right? Immediate example would be we were playing last night, actually, and I had set up a situation where there's 4 of these demons called Bulgura, and they're on these like mud pits. Each mud pit has a giant centipede in it. The giant centipede does not mind the Bulgura being there, but if anybody else enters its domain, it's going to freak out and attack them, poison them. It's going to be a bad time, right? The players didn't pass a perception check, but I had pointed out that the mud pits were like, might be something in there, so they're like, we're going to stay away from those. I put in 6 Bulgaras for that night because there were 6 players. There were 2 NPC players along with them that were pretty strong. So I was like, yeah, they're going to clear those 4 really quickly. I want this to like feel difficult. So here's the thing. Bulgaras can cast Phantasmal Killer once per day, and they can also cast Invisibility twice per day. This fight did not go well for my players. And
Doesn't sound like it.
no, they managed to kill 3 of them, and then the fight was going too long. One of them had to go to sleep, and I had another combat planned immediately following this one with a really cool big boss. I'm actually going to hold up the Spirit of Fire patch again because I'm going to show a really cool thing of the tabletop simulator game here in place of this, because I got these cool templates in the 3D space. So it's like, I don't know, I just kind of want to show people this like 3D setup because I think it's really interesting. But point being, I just I had 3 of the Bulguras turn invisible once I was satisfied with the fight and had felt like it had gotten them weak enough and had caused enough stress and they had gotten to do enough cool things, and just had the Bulgura run away. And they were like, quick, pick me up and we'll because one of the characters had sort of a scanning ability to see invisibility. It's like, we'll pick her up and we'll go chasing down the hall. And I was just like, yeah, well, we really just don't have time, so we're not going to do that. And they were all like, yeah, we understand. And they continued on. So it's like we had to break down the wall because it's like maybe it's the thing their characters would be like, we don't want to leave these creatures, but it was like me as the DM saying they're not coming back, let's go to the next right. Yeah. So that was one. I have another, if you don't mind me saying the other one.
I think at this point I've kind of talked about all I want to as far as the topic is concerned.
Okay.
And then talk about kind of extra stuff on the side.
Okay, so yeah, this is my last thing about Limit of Immersion, and I'm going to try to keep it brief. This was Velgrod campaign. This was actually a campaign run by one of my roommates where 2 of us were players within it. We got to a point where the other player was not enjoying the campaign to an extent that we just called it off, right? Which I think I had mentioned this in the previous episode. It was really funny that this whole campaign was built off a concept that player thought would be cool, but it was kind of a bury the lead concept. And so she was sort of lost in the sauce of everything that was going on and never got to that reveal. And so it was a funny moment where all of us were sitting around the table as the DM sort of laid out everything that was going to happen for us, or what was planned to happen at least. And then it was just kind of yeah, we were trying to make the game that you would like the most, and you just really didn't enjoy it. So that's crazy. But it was a weird thing. But the Limit of Immersion was this player is not enjoying the game anymore. And so let's just call it, right? So she didn't want to interact with the world, right? So she was not feeling immersed in the gameplay, but the immersiveness of the gameplay was quite high. There was a couple of roles that we got in multiple different situations where we avoided combats, or there's this whole thing with this princess who was actually a changeling, right? And so we were supposed to go and pick a side and do this whole combat with the princess, but we were no, we're just gonna, this doesn't feel good. Or a lot of people are about to die, so we want to see if we can just lie our way out of this and run away with the princess, and we managed to do that, right? And so she let us do that. So that was your level of Limit of Immersion of it's the total white space and everything else, which was good because we as players weren't having a good time, and it built in our ability to escape the bad time. Kind of thing, but ultimately we ended up calling it. So
that's fair.
That's just another example. Velgrod was also an interesting one because it was a situation where me and the other player were not aligned in our goals, so there was this animosity between us, which was interesting, part of the non-enjoyment of that campaign. But me and the DM were kind of talking on the side, and we thought whoa, this is so interesting. But the other player kind of left out in the dark, was wasn't aware of all the reveals that were kind of coming, right? So
interesting.
Yeah, I know I glossed over that. We don't need to go into it. I think we give it enough scenario specific stuff. But
yeah. Interesting. Okay. And so in final discussions, I guess we should probably talk about what we what we started off with.
We can
the Unearth Arcana briefly.
No, we can go long. We can go long. Let's go long this episode.
Why not? Let's do it. So do you just want to go top to bottom? I know you have it pulled up.
Yeah, I have it.
Go top to bottom, that'd be easier.
Yeah. Let's. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is the Pestilence So, just kind of re-establishing what we're talking about. Unearthed Arcana, and like the first four aren't specifically. It's weird because it's like referenced as villainous options, but like the first four aren't specifically like villain paths. They just lend themselves well to that. I guess is the easy way to put it. And then there are two Death Knight like paths of villainy that you're like actually becoming evil. So like there's a slight, I don't know, semantic difference, even though like they all lend themselves to villains, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for the D&D heads out there are 4 subclasses, which are alterations to classes that already exist, that give you options for like villainous theming. And then at the end there are these paths that, as I read them, were kind of more like backgrounds almost. They're not backgrounds, but their flavor is very... It's almost like background and racial stuff. It's a whole different thing, because I don't know that paths are a thing in D&D unless they were in one of the supplementary rule books. Do you know that if that...
I don't know actually.
We'll have to look into it. Maybe there's an editor's note. I'll hold up the patch one more time just to see if future Miles can figure something out for this one. But
all right, future Miles, come on,
yeah,
make it good for us.
But here they're presenting paths. Maybe it's a new mechanic. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start up at the top. The first one is the Pestilence Domain Cleric. So my initial thoughts are, it seems like a lot of fun. I like this one a lot. I do like how you have resistance to necrotic and poison damage, and then your attacks that do those type of damage, you can swap. I think that's like a really good effect if you're like dealing with something that's resistance to necrotic or poison. You can just like swap and do the other type of damage, so it doesn't feel as bad to like fight a certain enemy that you yourself are weak against.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in here too.
Yeah,
amongst
so
classes.
I like that one a lot. And I did think it's weird how you get like a shapeshift from a cleric like path, but I don't really hate it. You just turn into a bunch of like rats or cockroaches, which feels weird, but it also like is a good level 17 thing. 'Cause, I mean, like we talked about earlier, like when you get that high up, you get super, super strong. And I feel like being able to turn into a bunch of cockroaches or rats or maggots or whatever you decide to turn into is a pretty good effect, all things considered. So.
Yeah, sort of the initial reaction is like, that should be something a druid does, but I don't think we should be confounded by those things, especially in the way that D&D designs itself. But I think like vibes wise here, this is like Moses and the plagues potentially, right? Like you're calling down pestilence. Obviously not to the extent that Moses was able to do that. But I like what the vermin form presents in that, especially in what you said, like this layer of godhood. Moses is an easy example because it's cleric, right? Kind of like generally holy things. But this is a great addition to like evil cleric domains that already exist, right? Like Death Domain doesn't have to be evil, but it kind of feels like right at home in evil. So I always imagine these guys as like dark priests. They're very like they're not what you stereotypically would think is a cleric, but it's just like it is a class-based system. A cleric is the closest role to suit this. So
yeah, like this is gonna maybe be a weird thing to bring up, but like I do think it's a lot like Legend of Avatar, Hama. I think it's Hama, the bad waterbender. So like everyone's and then now it's like, oh my god, like there are bad clerics, and they have these weird dark powers that like I could have type thing. So it's like I think it's like cool to kind of shift that narrative of like cleric to now be bringing down plagues. So
Right.
that seems very fun
There's a
for me.
there's a curiosity I have here too because it's like ultimately this is still a cleric.
Yeah.
So the restriction of their spells, I think the lion's share of cleric spells are kind of like good feeling. I know they have necromancy in there, so you can definitely get your flavor if you want this guy to be completely evil. But the lion's share are not necromancy spells in the book. There's definitely enough to suit the taste if you really want to make something. But some divination spells are interestingly like not too holy themed, if you will. Like there's like augury or whatever where it's like you like throw bones and get an omen of woe or will. And so it's almost more like a cultic, which could also match that like theming of the character as well. So sorry, from a purely themed thing.
Yes.
There's a curious thought. Sorry.
Like, okay. Is there anything else you want to bring up about this one? About the Plague Domain Cleric?
No, I mean, I'd have to like play and test and see if I actually like these subclass things. The weird thing about a subclass is it flavors your theme, but it's only 4 of your levels.
Yeah.
In this case, it's only
You almost
3.
have to theme the rest of your levels around this that you've now done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's like there's intrigue for this too of like a character becoming a villain where it's like level 3 they become a pestilence domain cleric, and then it's like maybe initially they were kind of more like light aligned, but then like something happened. I don't know. That's another interesting foil.
Yeah. Something to maybe talk about at the end, because I think there are things you can play around with, like I mean, screw it. I'll just talk about it now. Like
Sure.
I think there are interesting ways to work with subclasses if you intend for them to be villainous, or intend them to go down like a dark path of having the first couple levels be like, what, ambiguity? What's
Ambiguous?
Ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yep. Where like as it gets farther down, they get more and more like evil stuff. Like in the beginning, it's like slowly getting bad stuff until it ramps up. So like you don't feel like you're a character from the get-go. You feel like you have these powers, and then that eventually lead to bad things. If that makes sense from like a story perspective.
Yeah, I could see like a cleric who is meddling in these like dark arts specifically because he wants to like cure a disease, and then so it's like, oh, I'm gonna get closer to it so I can cure this thing, and then like as it goes on, they start to be like, no, the answer is the disease. Like we were wrong the whole, like kind of descent into madness type of thing.
Yeah, I thought that'd be there's a lot of space in that to have fun with.
Yeah, that's my final thought.
Well, next, yep, that was my final thought too. Is Circle of the Titan for Druid. My initial thoughts is I love this. I think it's so much fun. That there are some concerns about like dealing more physical damage, like as there are Titans. But I'm not really I'm not concerned with it just because the idea and the execution is really, really cool. Like I really like how you become a giant monster, and then when you get to level 10, it's now a huge, it's like bigger, and you can turn into these things. And like I feel like it almost reminds me of like Kaiju number 8, how you can like turn into like a not like turn into like a full Kaiju in the anime, but like you have your person, and then all of a sudden this huge monster, and like there's a lot of space to play in there of like using your body as a wall, or like mount combat like at lower levels, like there's just a lot of really interesting things that you can do with that. And I feel like there's a lot of space in druids to like have a more shapeshift focus.
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to like a lot that kind of do a little bit of both or like
Mm-hmm.
are more spell like leaning. So I like this one a lot. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would agree with that. This one was really one that stood out to me quite a lot, and my imagination of how to utilize this is like it jumps around a lot. It's like wow, there's like so many ways to implement this into a campaign. I think
Yeah.
this one firmly cements my idea that these like subclasses themselves are only meant for villainous characters that you are playing against, because
Hmm.
like no way is this balanced. In no freaking way is any of this balanced. Like you become these massive creatures. Have you ever seen like the viral? I think this was sort of a reaction to the viral Baldur's Gate 3 clip, where they got a owl bear who had a potion of enlargement, and they cast enlargement on it, and so it like doubled up in its size, and it's like this titanic owl bear, and they were like, I think that was viral. It kind of captivates people. It's like, oh, Wizards of the Coast sees this, they're like, oh, it'd be so cool if you could just like do that. You could just become this kaiju, like this big thing. It's pretty vague on the descriptions of what the big things are. Like you can really fill these
Yeah.
up. It's like Leviathan is just like a large sea creature. Behemoth is just like a large land creature, and an insectoid. It's kind of a weird alternative, but it's like I imagine that was meant to be the flying variant.
Yeah.
Um, and so I look at this and I'm like, you could have a party of less characters where one of them is the Circle of the Titan Druid, right? Because they're
Mhm.
inherently so strong themselves that they can fill the role of multiple party members. Uh, one of my other thoughts is like you could have a character who takes this subclass as a druid, and it's because of a curse that has been placed upon them, where like they don't have control of this type thing, and they like morph into a titan
Mhm.
when they're trying to wild shape into like a bunny, and it's like whoa, like they're this other thing. So you'd have to make some caveats around that, but like I could see that being really interesting too. Um,
So, um, side note, I think imagine if you were playing a campaign that like everyone around you are like or like not everyone in the party but like people who are like all the monsters are titans and then
mhm.
your character is a titan that they can like bite themselves to draw blood and turn it into a titan and then you go and like fight.
Yes, this would be a great modifier for Attack on Titan.
Wouldn't that be like wild though?
Yeah, I can see
You
it.
know, right? Like, I mean, there's definitely space in there to like incorporate anime, like that one is what I thought of specifically. I'm like, you could 100% have like an Aaron
That
character, like,
it's so curious because my mind went the opposite direction where I thought of a world like Reyes, like some of those god games where you tend to people, like this being a thing where because you're able to become a Titan, you are contracted in such a way that you have to like guard fields from pestilence or smaller vermin and like evil things, and so it's like
mm,
these Titan druids are the only ones who can like become the big thing that defends the other things. Um,
mhm.
but I do love the idea of Attack on Titan being like a scenario built around this and Attack on Titan. Like
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
very
Well, I mean,
cool.
and I do think like this one doesn't feel like as villainous to me because you still have like giant creatures that like are protectors. Like you could turn into a lion turtle, who just like wants to help people. Like I mean, there is like a lot of space for big things that aren't necessarily evil. So like I like this one from that perspective that like there's a lot of space in there to be good or evil.
Right, it's not inherently evil unless you adhere to this opening paragraph where it says these druids believe that for nature to thrive, society must sometimes fall. So they're like naturally calamities. That's why they follow this path. And it's kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, well that feels a little like you're forcing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how you assume that I can read and I read that stuff. So
I like to think the best of you, Austin. I really do.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
uh,
You ready to move on? Or
yep.
you do have more thoughts?
Nope. Nope.
Okay. So the next one was the Hell Knight, which is a fighter one. And I I don't know how to feel about this one. 'Cause I feel like beyond level 3, it's like okay. Um, but like after a while, like because there's a lot of like space to play with like evil characters and like a fighter that's like more lean towards that and being able to um, like do infernal wound stuff with that.
Mm-hmm.
But like I feel like most fighters or no, I mean, yeah, most fighters do like a battle master type build,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm not fully thinking about why you would choose Hell Knight over like a battle master for reasons other than story.
Um,
That's like my like initial thing about it.
it's theming and use case because the infernal wound die just replaced the battle master die, right? So like
Hmm.
very astute observation. These are the this fighter archetype is almost a variation of a fighter archetype that already exists. So you can make the argument that it's like it's not that interesting because it's just changing the flavor of a thing that is already there. Like an Eldritch Knight is already like very distinct from Battle Master, and Champion is also very distinct from Battle Master. But this one is like there's a lot of the Venn diagram covers a lot of the same.
Hmm.
The only thing is like Battle Master wound typing is very utility. This is very like kind of random magic-y. Like at level 7 it feels like it's kind of like a minor version of some area of effect stuff. The ability to at level 7 the Hellforged equipment, similar to the Pestilence Priest, here you have an option to actually as early as Hellfire Weapon at level 3,
Hmm.
which that's super potent. I think that's like really the core of this, and they maybe kind of missed it to make it more like Battlemaster, which is weird.
Yeah.
Having the ability to change your physical damage to fire damage at level 3, like that means like you
Mhm.
don't even need a magic weapon, and if you're fighting enemies that could only be harmed by magic, you could just
Yeah, you can just
hellfire your weapon, and now you can do
yeah.
non-melee types of damage. That's like bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. Sometimes things have immunities to those, so those make marshals pretty useless. And
Mhm.
in this case, the marshal has a way to circumvent it. They can just do fire damage instead, which is
Yeah.
that's extremely potent. Like especially as a level 3 ability, that is extremely potent. And like the flavor of the advanced wounds sounds great. Like this is a really disgusting, vile dude.
Yeah.
Um, oh, there's a variation of the action surge. I didn't see that when I. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I think this one was just like more theme and vibe than like consistent mechanic.
Yeah. Well, I feel like whenever Unearthed Arcana like does come out, there's always a couple that they're like kind of doing a vibe check, being like, okay, we're like we're
Mhm.
leaning this way. Like, what do you think about this? Like, how does this feel? And you're like, that looks really fun, even though it's not balanced. Like, it looks like it'll be fun, and then they fix it down the line. You know what I mean? So like, I think there's some of this like, I like the idea of Hell Knight per se, but I just don't know how much I like the information that's been presented. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this guy gets broken at level 18. He's just guaranteed to succeed on his infernal wound, or to get the max value out of his infernal wound die. I, I,
There's like
I,
consistency with that, yeah.
yeah, like yeah, I get it. Again, this is consistent with my idea that like this is very Monster Manual coded, where he kind of just does a lot of like cool things instead of like having any kind
Mhm.
of consistent role or mechanic. Also, like there are, do I have to check the player's handbook again? I'm not going to do it right now, but
Mhm.
this one just has like a lot of skills that it gains. I know fighters typically get more subclass abilities than anybody else, um,
Mhm.
but like, do they really get One,
many?
2, 3, 4, 5 levels of that. Like I'll have to check that. Miles, do the thing. Do the thing.
Miles,
Put it on the
future
screen.
Miles, help us out.
Yeah, I hate to do this to myself but hopefully this helps me find it faster. Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't have much, but like the vibes are good, but the mechanics are dubious.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, okay. Anything else for that one?
I like the mention of Avernus. Baldur's Gate 3.
I know. I really liked. There's a module that is based around Avernus. I think it's Descent to Avernus,
Yeah, it's.
and I really like how they.
Oh wait.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you please finish that.
Yeah. I just really liked how they included a Critical Role character in that. And that's the first like swap over between the two.
Oh.
Yeah, because I don't know how well versed you are in like Critical Role lore, but there was a character played by Joe Mangolio.
Oh yeah,
Mangolio, right?
Joe Manganiello. I
And
thought
he
that was what it was.
Yes. And he was like a Tiamat worshiper. Like they defeat Strahd and he like chops off his own hand to like attach the or not, why did I say Strahd? Hecna, and like chops off his hand and puts on the hand, and then he like teleports away. And in that module, it's like you can meet him and he's still trying to like revive Tiamat or like bring her like into the plane. So it's like I was like
Arcan the
cool
Cruel.
little reference. Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. Avernus mentioned.
Avernus mentioned.
Yep.
The next
okay.
one?
Next one. Demonic sorcery for the sorcerer. I don't know how to feel about this, so I'm half waiting for your thoughts because I do like it. To me, it felt like very abyssal, right? And I don't know because I am a big planner, so I don't necessarily like the abyssal aura where it's like in a certain space around you, like stuff happens. And I'm like, damn, like I'd be really not like mad or anything, but like because there's a bunch of things that can happen. For me, it always feels like the worst thing in that moment happens. Like if I'm trying to like slow them down, it's like I do something that just damages or doesn't slow them down, or because like there's a lot of examples. It's like, okay, if I want sticky webs to make them like hard to move through, instead like I'll get the terrifying scream or something like that, where it's like actually like it just deals damage and they can still chase me. So it's like there's a lot of really cool things in there, but like because it's so random, like it fits the sorcerer of like sorcerers not being like necessarily masters of their craft, that they just are like either given powers or like they're born with it or like something along those lines. Like it fits that, but I'm also like I like a little more control in what I do at higher levels. And then I also don't know, like I'm not well versed in the fiends per se, but like I don't know if level 18 like how good summon fiend is. You know, like we talked about earlier, like level like 15 and up like start to feel really really broken. So I just don't know about that. But your thoughts?
Yeah, Summon Fiend I don't think is a really... Is it a high level spell?
It's a level 6 spell, and you can cast that for free. Like you get a fiend like as your ally.
Yeah, that's pretty potent. Especially as a sorcerer who doesn't normally have access to that spell.
Yeah.
It can be. It feels warlock to me. It feels like late game warlock for no reason, which I already have problems with the way that warlocks are flavored in the introduction of the Hexblade, because I think the Hexblade is just a better version of the Eldridge Knight, which, you know, like
Yeah.
the D&D has, like, especially with the Hell Knight introduction, D&D has many flavors of magic sword wielder, and they won't just make a class that has spell sword, which is like, just make a class that's spell sword.
Just give me spell sword. Like,
Yeah, because bards could also be sword guys too. I'm like, okay, like let's have a bajillion subclasses instead of one class.
mhm.
Personal feelings on the matter. I understand sometimes you want your flavor to be more of one type than the other. That's fine.
Yeah.
This just feels like a little bit like Identity Crisis. Demonic spells. Who cares? Access to additional spells. I think this is probably how sorcerers work with their subclasses, that they get access to specific additional spells based on the type they are. I think Abyssal Rupture pretty cool. I think that if I'm reading the theory or the notion of the sorcerer is, it is a sorcerer who will oh, that's interesting. It is a sorcerer who is able to go in and be a problem for the enemy in the middle of all of them, right?
Yeah.
Especially because of Fiendish Carapace. That tells me that, like, when you spend one sorcery point, like, that's crazy. So you can jump into the enemies, cast a spell, and then force disadvantage on them at the cost of nothing but one sorcery point, which is, like, really good. So the idea of a fighty sorcerer, especially with stuff like Flameblade, in Fatal Scales, I have a player who plays, like, kind of a frontliner sorcerer, which is an interesting concept. This services that incredibly well. I don't know why Abyssal Aura isn't a choose your own effect. I also don't know why it's 6 different effects. I feel like they just had a lot of ideas and couldn't settle. I don't like overly complex. Look at these. This is
There's a lot to it. Yeah.
3 or 4 sentences to describe. Like, they say that's one sentence, but that's 2 sentences. But oh no, it's 2. It's 2. Okay. Well, this one has a comma in it, so yeah, it's like 3 to 4 sentences, like a small paragraph for each ability. That's 6 paragraphs of abilities to know how to use one effect at level 6, and it has a chance to never trigger one of these. So, like, you're not incentivized to know what they are until they pop up. So you're slowing down combat because the player's got to have the book open. They've got to have all the abilities, like, right in front of them. And when they roll, they're going to have to figure out how it works, right? So it's like, in 10 feet, something happens. Why is it not always just the one thing that happens?
Yeah. So I was gonna ask, do you think it would be better if you could choose?
I think it's better if you could choose. I think it would be even better if they just removed 5 of them.
Oh, really? If they just had like one that you could only, because like I like the option, maybe remove like 2 or 3 of them, so like they still fit thematically, but like you don't have to have that many options yet. You know, like because there's just some that you could combine somehow, because like some of them are just to deal damage. So like you could combine some of those some way somehow, but yeah.
A Wizards of the Coast solution is always to just, like, have, like, 3 options. These are long options to begin with, so I wouldn't even say this one should have 3. But I could see a Wizards of the Coast fix being, like, provide 3 and then you get to just choose one. The reason that doesn't really work is because they've decided to make the level 14 design the ability to roll twice and choose one of the rolls. And then if you end up getting Snake Eyes, you can choose whichever effect you want, right? So they added an extra rule where they were like, they wanted it to feel like you did not have control of this ability until later. Again,
Much later, yeah.
I don't know about the theming of demon magic being chaotic. Like, specifically demon magic being chaotic. Because, like, the theme of this is a demon sorcerer, not like a chaos sorcerer. And that ability randomly kind of feels chaotic. I would remove controlled chaos as well, I think. And I think I would just give you the option to choose. Ideally, the mild solution, Abyssal Aura, would only add one thing, and then maybe at level 14 there's a second thing that you could choose.
Oh.
Right? So it's like
Yeah.
one thing and then like one other thing that you get later, and it's like, oh cool, I've always used this. Here's the, better one. And like I'm gonna choose that one for most situations, but there's still some situations where the original one actually works better.
I was gonna say, like, if you are designing something and you do want them to pick both options, but later on there have to be like some very clear cut ways to use both in a situation, because it sounds like it's like, okay, I get at level 14, I get this like souped up ability off of it, but it's like, why would I ever go back to the other one? Right?
Yeah.
Unless there was some like positive benefit that it gave you, or like use less charges, or like some way to make it feel like they're both still applicable. But that's tough when you give one of them at a higher level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's probably not even. Yeah, it is tough to give one at the higher level, regardless, because you feel like it should be better. But maybe the thing about it being higher level is that you get two options, and they're still much aligned in their ability to do things. I mean, I think the obvious solution here is like one thing that I see that's like kind of missing from this is there's no way to improve the aura.
Yeah, well, there's like at level 14, you get the aura expansion.
Yeah,
So, like, it goes twice as far. But beyond that,
it doesn't scale.
No.
So then at a certain point, you're casting the aura just to be a nuisance. But it's like, when a level 14 enemy is looking at getting dealt 3d6 damage to them, they're not really worried about it.
Yeah, because like some of the
oh wait,
enervating
poisonous foliage. Some of them specifically do higher damage at further levels.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't like a lot more damage. It's like 1d6 to 2d6 to 3d6, which, I mean, more damage is always better, but like it's not like a super scaling type thing. You know what I mean?
They are so afraid of auras and like balancing auras in any kind of interesting way. Let me say that at least about, because there's an aura for the paladin called Crusader's Mantle, and all it does is that everybody within the aura gets to do 1d4 additional damage. It is very difficult to keep your allies in that aura and have that potency come out. Also, 1d4 additional damage, like you better not get knocked out of your focus, because like that is not a lot, so you need that aura to be up for a while for you to get your yield from it. I think that's their idea here too with these auras, is like, it's a thing that could affect a lot of things, so it can't be very strong. But a level 6 ability that does 1d6 damage,
you're like,
I don't care about it, and I have to know about 6 of them. I have to do this roll to decide which 6 of them it is. Like, this just slows the game down for like a really middling ability. Matter of fact, I'd call it lame, honestly. There's utility in some of these abilities, but they might as well not have the damage ones in there.
Man, you almost had a rhyme there. There's utility in these abilities.
Yeah.
Really cool. What a guy.
I don't. Okay. I'm a big skeptic of Wizards of the Coast design. I love 5e as a system. I think there's just like certain things that they are like scared of.
Which is fair. Okay, are you ready to move on to the Paths of Villainy?
You didn't have any more thoughts on the demonic?
Not really. Like we talked about, it just, I don't like chaos. I like chaos, but I like some like ability to control it. So like, I love how there's one ability called Controlled Chaos, literally. But I would like the ability to choose what I'm doing, and then also like doing all this like chaos stuff. Like I know it says these are demonic abilities, like these are bad abilities, but like nothing about it really like feels demonic to me until at level 18 you can summon a fiend, right? So like I wish there was something like earlier on, like you get the summon fiend spell like earlier, or like you get something that like connects you to summoning the demon as opposed to just getting your powers from them. Like if I'm, like I'm trying to think of like a hexblade type. My power is from hell. Like I don't get the ability to summon hell.
Right.
Summon like a beast or something. So like I almost think getting a better damage dealing spell at that higher level would be better for me, as opposed to just getting an ability to summon a servant, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's what I'm hearing in broad strokes is there's inconsistencies in the theming.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and like that's the title being demonic, and then the flavor being abyssal, which abyssal could mean a lot of things. Infernal, abyss, whatever. They're saying here that the abyss is a plane of wickedness and disorder. There's where your chaos comes in. But then it fiendish becomes demons again at the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of like stick to the theme.
Choose a lane.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. We can depart the demonic sorcerer.
Okay. So the paths of villainy are fun for me because first off is like there are different classes who can do each one, and like it's not confined to a class, right? Like it is semi-confined, especially in the path of the Death Knight, because you have to have weapon mastery, which only is like fighting characters get that really. But I do and I don't like that you have to pick some, like you have to start this path at level 4, and then you have to take it again. Like the next time you can get a feat, you have to take that one, and then you have to take another feat until you can like ascend. So I don't necessarily like, because I like characters who don't necessarily know who they are fully or what they're doing, and like having to retroactively like know you're gonna be a bad guy just feels off to me. That aside, I do like that you can like kind of see a build up and progression in the abilities and like what you can do as a Death Knight. Seems really fun. But I'm like, do I really want a character that's going to at level 4 decide that they're going to be a villain? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting here where it's like if you have the knowledge ahead of time, you can make the choice to it's interesting too. It's like this obviously has to be a martial character because you need the weapon mastery feature. But you could make the choice to sort of like all my feats are going to be Death Knight feats because I'm a Death Knight. But you don't have to do that. You could remain an initiate the entire time if you wanted to.
Yeah. Like I think it'd be fun to like cuz none of the so like let's like use that example and say like I am an initiate. Like I can start to get the Death Knight powers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't have to go full villain. I can like, oh, like I was gonna go evil, but now I'm not.
Right.
So like there's definitely space in it to keep those kind of fun abilities and not go full evil.
I think,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think I disagree with your initial assertion because I think this is wonderfully designed.
Oh, okay, go on.
I think this is a rare case because I think this really plays really well with the idea of feats. It gives D&D more feats, which is cool. I like more feats. And then it gives you an additional identifier, right? Because I can now be a fighter Eldritch Knight on the path of a Death Knight. And at any point I can come off the path of the Death Knight. And so narratively, like, this threads incredibly well with the feature system, which I can even offer. I would like to spend some time on the back half, which is like, maybe this is a really long episode. I'm okay with that. So long as you are. And discuss some of the things that have happened, at least in Fatal Skills, maybe in Queen's Gold, but more so Fatal Skills in terms of, these are names of the different campaigns that I play, the ways that this could suit, because we just had a character who will multi-class into a warlock, and we decided to tie it into the narrative, and it was really cool.
Okay.
Right? It's like, oh, there's a narrative reason you're becoming a warlock, which like warlock lends itself to the narrative really well because you have to have a patron, which is always a weird thing I've thought about the multi-classing. It's like, wait, randomly in the story, I suddenly am just like also a cleric of the Tempest domain on top of being like a wizard.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, I think this is really cool, especially because you have to commit. I think there should be, if the path system is something that D&D is going to fully implement, I think there should be a bunch of paths, and I think this should just be in there with the regular feats, because I think it gives you really cool inroads to interesting narrative devices, or committing to ostensibly like a third subclass, which is like,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Subclass.
That's very Pathfinder. I think you're gonna. It's called Path.
Huh?
Maybe. It's very Pathfinder in nature, because Pathfinder, you almost like build your you multi-class. You kind of build your character around the feats. So a bit of a return to that, especially in the sense that these feats are narrative in nature, is really good, because it still does a 5e thing, so it doesn't go too far into the Pathfinder thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, did that make sense?
No, yes. That made complete sense. Like, I see your ideas on it.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with you, but I'm also like cautious of people like changing their mind later. And while it does like stand good enough on its own,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know how much, or like I don't know if I like it that they like connect 3 feats together, whereas like other ones are fairly open, unless they decide to do more paths in the future to like help you define your character further down the road.
Mm-hmm.
If that is making sense what I mean. So like I like it, but I'm also like concerned about like having really, because like one that like, because my my issue player, like not even player, but like when he was the bad guy,
Mm-hmm.
he became a Death Knight.
Right.
So like he got abilities later on that were so good because they stacked so like
Well.
incredibly well. I mean, obviously it was like a very untested class and like untested everything. Like it was homebrew by some guy who, like, when I look back on it, I'm like, this is broken.
Right.
And it just stacked so well that it did so much damage. It's so much like it covered every base.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what like concerns me about like the paths in general, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear it. I hear it. This could be a balance. That could be fixed, though. I think that's to look past sort of the. I don't know. I'm super into the narrative and the mechanics working together, and I think this does that incredibly well. So I think we determined that we were opposed in our viewpoint here. I think this works even further because the second option, you have 4 different options of like what type of Death Knight you're going to be.
Mm-hmm. I do like that,
which is really dope, because then you're not like necessarily boxed in either. And some of these you can take later on too. So if you're a fighter, especially, and you decide to choose the path of the Death Knight, fighters get a feat at level 6. So fighter could come in here and take Death Knight Initiate, Dread Authority, or Harbinger of Doom, and then also take Deathly Presence or Unholy Steed, and then also take Death Knight Ascension, because the fighter gets the 4 feats instead of, I think, the regular 3 that most classes get.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're a fighter, like, that's where your concern, I think, really comes in, because you could really pile on a lot of mechanics that work incredibly well together. But outside of fighter, I don't really see a problem here, because there's 4 feats that you like. You're giving up another feat for this. It feels balanced around that same idea of like the potency of any of those other feats. So
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then you're locked in too. So there's an investment layer to this that's different from the other ones. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not too much of a concern of mine outside of the fighter. Maybe the fighter gets a little.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if one of them is gonna be that busted, then I don't think it's necessarily bad. Like, I've softened my stance on it
Okay.
a little bit. You
Okay,
know,
okay.
I'm like more agree with it. I just have to kind of see it play out a little more than just reading it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe we need to put
Ready
together
to
like
move on to the last one?
a one shot for the sake of
One shot with the Path of.
Yeah,
Path
maybe
of
we could
Midnight
convince
and Path of the
Zach.
Witch.
Do you guys have? This is a question for after.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll
go to- Okay. Ready for the last one?
Yep, I'm ready.
So Path of the Lich, which is a spellcaster, again goes through like 3 progressions to become a lich. It's weird. I like this one more than the other one. I specifically like that it kind of lays out, first of all, what your right is to become a lich, because it has 6 options, but like it helps you make yours. And I love the ones like, you must consume 100 souls. And I'm like, oh my god, like,
Yeah, this
that
is.
just seems crazy, right?
You
just seems fun.
You're showing your novice friend. You've not read the monster manual. Have you read the monster manual?
Not in a long time.
Yeah, okay, well, maybe in a long time. The depictions of liches in the monster manual discuss the need of a lich to have a constant source of souls. And, like, to become a lich, they have to get a prerequisite amount as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, just it would be odd then that like some of the rites are like write a blasphemous verse and perform it in a temple. Like, all right.
Oh,
like, that
interesting.
puts you on the path. Yeah.
Right.
Like not all of them are around souls.
Oh, that's okay. So they're giving more inroads to paths to liches. So they're even expanding on what a lich is in this.
A little bit, yeah.
Wow.
And I do like how they like reference like liches, you know, that they're like, okay, these are other liches that exist, like, which is cool. But I
Yeah.
do like how when you first become a lich, you create a jar, a spirit jar. And
Yep.
again, I love the examples that it gives you because it's like a little bell or, you know, an eyeball referencing Vecna, obviously. But it's also like a love letter sent to you or an acorn or like
Yeah,
just
I like the
these,
acorn. That's
these random items. I was like, that's fun. Like imagine if there's a lich who became a lich to like save the forest. Like that it gets me
right.
thinking about a lot of like different things, right?
Which again is
So
like
I really
the variation
Oh,
of 5e is kind of the fun there, right? So it's like it's cool
Yeah.
to have these different flavors of liches.
yeah.
Good.
So I like that. I also like how you kind of connect your soul to it, and like you can use abilities with it. Like I do really like Soul Siphon as an ability that you can like kill stuff and
Yeah.
like have them fully dead at what was this like level 4? Like you can make it so things can't be revived except by true resurrection and wish. So like I think that early on, because I always have characters who get killed and then they get revived and come back, right? Because it's always fun to like, I thought I killed you. Like, oh no, you didn't kill me, right? But like to have a character who's like, yep, his soul's gone, I think is really, really cool. So I like that. And then I do think they all kind of stack well. And I do like the idea because like Lich's big thing is they want to live forever
Yep.
with their evil things, right?
Yep.
So I do like how there's a specific ability once they take this at level 12, you know, after they go down their path, that it's like, unless the jar is destroyed in 10 days, well, up to 10 days, you're revived. And I'm
Yep.
like, that's fine. Like that feels good. And also from like a story standpoint, it's like, you know, you have this heroic save and you decide to like help your friends and you're like, all right, I'm running away. And then they die and you're like, well, let's just hang out for 10 days and just wait for them. Like, I mean, there are fun ways to incorporate that. And I like this one just because it feels very like lichy and undead, but it
Yep.
also feels like it lends itself well to non-villainous things, which again sounds weird because it's a lich, but like there's ways to play with that. And I think that's fun.
Right. Mechanically speaking, all of this, bar one thing that's missing, which is kind of my gripe with it, is mechanically how liches exist in D&D. So if an enemy in D&D is a lich, you can expect that they will have a phylactery, which is another word for spirit jar. They went with kind of
Yeah.
the common term here because they're trying to not be nerds. I guess if it's like a player thing, let's just call it a spirit jar instead of a phylactery. I prefer phylactery. I think it sounds cool.
Yeah, I think it does too.
But the idea is that the annoying thing about killing liches is that you also have to find their phylactery and destroy that to completely get rid of them, right? The thing about liches needing to consume people to remain liches, Soul Siphon, super good. Like, I agree with you. That's interesting. You can just kill a guy. That's what makes liches scary to some degree. But also, this is the thing that gets liches to the true power of lichdom, right? Like, is that they are consuming souls. And that's cool. You can play a really ruthless character with this, right? Because you're just you're just zapping every single guy that you run into. The thing that is missing from this, I think, is that I think they could have made it more unbalanced in favor of the Lich. I know why they didn't do this, because it's in the service of like not making an annoying class and kind of just like allowing for role play without having to concern yourself too much with like upkeep. But I think they could have made a lot of these abilities effects even better, and then and maybe this is like a an alternate rule that they supposed here, that you have to use Soul Siphon within X amount of time, or else you become what is known as a demi-lich.
Oh.
And this could happen after you reach Lich Ascension, because it probably wouldn't happen on your path to Lichdom. But once you are a full Lich, if you do not consume souls, you will become what is known as a demi-lich. It is just a floating skull with like some composite Lich powers.
Yeah, like you said, I can definitely understand why they wouldn't want to do that for like a player. I think thematically that would be really fun to be like, you have to do this about this amount of time. Or, well, I mean, and the other thing is it imposes that the player has to be tracking it and the DM has to be tracking it too. You know, so I could see them not wanting to kind of add on more things for the DM have to like be aware of.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like most good DMs are at least semi-aware of what their players like need or what they're doing. So like it's an issue, but it's also not.
Right. I think
So I could see it.
I think at least like having that as a part of Lich Ascension specifically, because then you like make the decision, oh, do I want to become a full Lich, because it comes with this like, now I'm committed to the idea of what a Lich is and all of the issues that it would impose. And it's like, now I have to like make sure that I'm consistently using Soul Siphon. Maybe you can have a marker on the sheet or something else. I fully understand why they wouldn't do this, and your reasoning is completely sound why they wouldn't do this. But I still think that would really kind of bring it all together.
I agree. Like
Yeah.
I think it would be fun. I mean, I would like to think that if they did implement these kind of paths, that they wouldn't really give like a requirement to keep doing it, since it's like a path and not like a full like transformation in the traditional sense. But I would like for them to play around with that a little bit, because I think that could be fun to be like, oh, yep, your powers aren't activated right now because you didn't siphon a soul, or like you're like, oh, I gotta siphon a soul, and like no one's around except for like this old lady, and you're like, do I kill her? Do I not? I mean, obviously, like lends itself well to villainous, but like if you're trying not to go full villain, there's space within to make that happen. So I think that would be a fun little add-on. I'd be curious to see like how the implementation would work,
Right.
but it sounds fun.
I think looking also back at the Death Knight Ascension, I think that's kind of the thing that could also solve your issue with these of becoming too overpowered if the penultimate ability is like a bit of a monkey paw where it's like, yeah, you get all these great things, but also you have to do this other thing or else bad things will happen to you. I think that kind of is like an interesting like, oh well, maybe I won't ascend to the full evilдom, you know, and so you have all the trappings of a Death Knight, but you can't truly call yourself a Death Knight, and so that lends an interesting narrative weight, right? Because like Death Knights, it's like, would you be recognized within the orders? No, because you never fully ascended, so you'd
Yeah.
always be less than. And it's like, well, cool, I didn't want the crazy thing where I have to go and siphon power from the Death Knight deity of our order every occasionally so that I don't like lose all my powers or something. But now all the Death Knights who are ascended clown on me for not doing it, and so I'm sort of this like, you know, I can imagine this being like a side character in a Lord of the Rings book where it's like somebody who didn't fully do the thing, but they're like, yeah, I'm a little evil, you know, I made some bad choices in my past life, but like I don't really claim being a Death Knight anymore, but I still like do Death Knight things. Same thing with like being a lich. It's like, yeah, I was like about to be evil and I can still draw on this like crazy power to siphon souls, but like I don't do things with that, and I don't like, I am not a lich, but it's like, you know, that's a cool like that's a cool character development. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I think I know character development, right? It's like,
Yeah.
like that's a cool physical trait, ability trait that it's like, yeah, maybe I don't always rely on Soul Siphon, but like it's cool when there's a narrative moment where it's like I have to, and then I'm like, oh god, I was gonna be a lich, and you know,
Yeah, or you like, because like I do like that Soul Siphon early on isn't necessarily a purely evil thing, you know, it just like deals damage and they can't be revived. So like there's space within that to like turn your back on it and now be a good person despite that. And I think that's fun and that's cool. And I'm all for D&D being fun. You know, like that's, to me that's like the most important thing, is just make it fun for the players and make the themes in the game for them to keep coming back to.
right.
I like it. I think
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah, this is certainly one of like this entire document is one of the most fun things I've read from Wizards of the Coast in terms of their design. I've largely been happy with 5.5e. You know, the reprint of the 5th edition books with amended rules. I think most of the decisions they made in that were pretty good and clear. They overcomplicated some things in some areas. But I think if I was to get I guess this is probably something we would see in D&D 1. If I saw a paths page on D&D 1 with feats and stuff, I'd be like, whoa, cool. Because I think D&D 1 is supposed to be the next variant of D&D. I've not kept up with that. But like I could see classes like this like being really good. I think there's a couple of key classes that are already in 5.5 that have been there for a while. Like Evoker Wizard has some like really cool stuff in there. So I would like to see less boring stuff and more interesting stuff. But that's like such a blanket statement. But this is interesting stuff. So
Yeah. It's fun.
yeah, it's fun.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Well, that's kind of the last thing, like the last one of the classes we had to talk about. So, in conclusion, like, do you have anything that happened your week in D&D or anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, so as I alluded before, switching gears, I did want to talk about. I think I wanted to specifically talk about the situation where our warlock got their multiclassing moment.
Okay.
So me and the player had sort of talked about it. Their character was actually a sorcerer, and we had talked about it a long time ago. And this is a player who really deeply thinks about all of the way the world affects their character and what their character thinks about things. It's a half dragon character, and that character is sort of like the child of a red dragon, so like has all these sort of mommy issues about chromatic dragons, and yeah,
I love mommy issues.
and I kind of like just randomly was like, it would be cool to have this village where they're like kobolds. And when I was thinking like putting kobolds in this village, I was literally thinking like, oh cool, there's a thing called an Erd, and it's like a winged kobold, and that could be their little chieftain. And like whoever was the real leader of this kobold encampment, which would have been like a blue drake or a blue young dragon, got killed by this red young dragon, but the rest of the kobolds still survived and managed to like capture this red dragon, and the red dragon is their forge. And I was like, I wasn't thinking about politics, right? I was just like, these are blue dragon goblins, and I think it's cool to have the idea of a dragon that acts as sort of the bellows or the furnace of a forge, right? It's like, and here's this cool situation that would lead to that, and then maybe the party would have to make a decision about, do we want to try to save this red dragon? We know that chromatic dragons are evil, but like, are we aligned in such a way where it's like, this red dragon was done wrong, so these blue kobolds are, or these blue, kobolds are wrong, or like, do we just not like? So there was a lot of like,
don't try to spin your web.
there was a lot of sort of discussion. My roommates just got home. About, or a lot of thought in my head about like, how can this play out? But I didn't think about how it would affect the characters. This is like so weird because it's so against my brand, but it's like this character showed up and was like, we're better than This Is Dragons, and this is depressing. And it was like, whoa, I have to grab onto that, because like that just like enhances the thing that I was already thinking about in this situation. And so they played through this entire scenario. They had to rescue a guy from the cave of the kobolds, but it was like everything was like richly flavored with the players at the table doing role play. Like one of the other characters, the party's fighter, was like taking. This is something I wanted to talk about earlier as well. So I don't know what that timestamp is. I don't care what that timestamp is, but they did role play in combat. They used an action surge and a second turn to get a person's body out of the fight who was already dead. So there was no mechanical advantage to it, and this person spent effectively 2 actions to get the body out of the combat and all the bad things happening. But originally, I was going to talk about the Warlock's decision. We had talked about this beforehand, and they were like, yeah, Sorcerer kind of peters off, so I want to like take some levels of Warlock to do some things. And I was like, okay, we can have this interesting in-world thing because your character has a dead loved one, and you are already sort of pitted against a god who is trying to end death. So because you are a powerful character in this situation who is trying to kill the guy who is trying to end death, death itself would have reason to align to you, right? And so we came up with this notion of like, death is going to return your loved one to you who died, this previous wife, this like, because they're widowed essentially, under this like sort of contract, this Warlock pact, where it's like, I'll return your loved one to you, and you'll get to keep them if you defeat this guy who is trying to end me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was like all of that just from like, I want a multi-class Warlock, you know, which is pretty cool. So that was it.
And I do think it's like really cool when you can work with your player to make something unique happen like that, where you guys both feel satisfaction in the decision. It does require a lot of work on your part and require a lot of work on your player to be like open to kind of changing their ideas to fit. But when it happens, it's so cool. It's so much fun to like have a collaborative effort to make something for the table.
Yes.
It can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I gotta have a lot of fun with it too. I spur of the moment had it so that like the god of death can't walk in the mortal plane, so he has a walking corpse that like kind of curries him around, and then he has the walking corpse shapeshift into a form that looks more like him to communicate with the players. But when he goes back to the realm of death, it becomes the corpse again.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was a very spur of the moment thing, but I was like, oh, this is kind of, I like the idea of him like kind of just pushing his hair back, and he's like a completely different person, like a ring conductor. I have one other story, if you have time.
Yes, good. Before you get to that, I feel like newer DMs like just kind of need to get out of their comfort shells and like watch like anime, watch other people play D&D, because like there's so many good ideas and concepts out there if you just do it, and then it makes your ability to roleplay something, create something on the side that much easier, even if it's
Yes.
like I'm gonna write a story every night, or I'm gonna like watch a TV show that I don't usually watch. Like once you acclimate yourself to these other ideas, you're able to create new things on the fly that can benefit your whole table and just your character creation in such a profound way. But I digress.
Well,
You may continue with your statement.
Yeah. Sorry. I totally agree with you. I think I made the point in the last episode as well. But like somebody asked me recently, one of my players was like, "How do you DM like this?" And I think like one of the big pieces of advice I gave him was like, just go and watch some episodes of Critical Role. Go, and I'll tell everybody this: listen to the first season of The Adventure Zone. I'll put a link to that in the doobly doo as well, because like that was a really incredible story. Like just like go out there, experience some of these other like actual play or Dimension 20, obviously. Like see how other people DM. Obviously go outside of the big creators too, but it'll help you a lot. So my story. Is we have this session that I DM now at the house. It's called the Queen's Gold. So it's the same three people who did Velgarod, but I'm DMing and the other two are players, and they're married, right? And so that works out really well because we built their characters kind of around their marriage anyway. They're paired in the story as well. But I only wanted to bring this one up because it applies back to a concept we talked about, the limit of immersion, and that campaign for me is a white box scenario. I do not put rails on that one. I design the sessions in the rails, but I've said explicitly to the players, basically they're on a magical train that goes to different floating islands, and the different floating islands have completely different scenarios happening on them, right? But I was like, you will come across magic circles and portals in the game. If you come across a magic circle or portal, I will not deny you entry to that one. I may need time, or I may even end a session upon your entry into a portal, but we will go into something else. It will be a completely different story. So the islands, by their edges, right, are white boxing because you can't just keep walking on for infinity. But typically there are other ways to traverse to other islands, and so effectively, if the players wanted to leave the train and just daisy chain through portals for the rest of the campaign, I would totally allow it.
Yeah.
That's all. That was all my thing about limit of immersion, because I'm really big on like that one being super immersive. There's not a lot of talk about the table. It's a lot of like in universe.
A lot of in there. Yeah. Well, and I think let me think. How do I want to word this? I think when you first get into DMing, I feel like you immediately go to like very rail oriented. And then as you get more comfortable, you kind of go into more open ended. And then there's, because it's like you start here like very on the rails, and then you go to like very off the rails, and then you slowly kind of make your way back to where there are like guideline rails, but it's still like on both sides. So I think like as you get better at it, you kind of fall back into that area. Whereas like some DMs will like stay up high like me, and some like kind of stay here if not here like you. But like there's a lot of space for those DMs to be successful and for the tables to be successful. Like one size does not fit all when it comes to D&D. And I think that's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know if you had any tales that you wanted to share here at the end.
Not really. Like I haven't played a whole lot of D&D recently. Like I'm still like writing about it and still like creating stories and whatnot. So like I'm still trying to be involved with the space, but like because of the move and just being busy, like I haven't been able to do as much as I want to do as far as D&D. So
Okay. Well, we might remedy that. I've got an idea that I want to propose to you after the podcast.
okay, well, I got nothing else. Do you have anything else?
No, I have nothing else. If you have nothing else, then I'll go ahead and sign us off here. Thank you for joining us at the Tabletop Podcast, and we will see you again next week. Hopefully, you enjoy the extra 50 minutes of content that we just
The extra-
provided you. Yeah, it was a gift.